Spurs YouTuber and Maurizio Pochettino's doppelganger, it's Chris Cowlin. How are we doing, Chris?
Hi, Majestic. Nice to talk to you this afternoon.
It's nice to finally talk to you. We've been meaning to talk to each other for a while when it comes to Spurs, and what a great place to do it on talkSPORT2 on the social. Let's start with Antonio Conte. It was looking like that was a dead cert. The odds were slashed. It was apparently a matter of time before he was announced, and then lo and behold, something happens. Chris, what do you know, and what was your take on it?
Well, I know it's just been a long 51 days now without a manager since Jose Mourinho was sacked. Of course, a lot of fans last week got super excited thinking Antonio Conte was going to come in. You know, just won the league title with Inter Milan, first time in 11 years. And, he's a born winner. Same as what people said about Jose Mourinho. You know, these managers have gone to places and won trophies and been very successful at these clubs. It's just very frustrating at the moment for all of us now because, like you said earlier, the transfer window is open now, and we need to start doing business. We need to offload some players. We need to bring new players in, and a new manager needs to be appointed as soon as possible. And the frustrating thing is a lot of Spurs fans were on a high, thinking that the fact that Maurizio Pochettino could have come back, and then a serial winner in Antonio Conte, and now it's looking like it's going to be someone completely different, and it's looking like it's going to be someone uninspiring, which a lot of us are calling them, uninspiring managers, managers that perhaps we wouldn't have chosen as perhaps our first five choices.
There's been a lot of sceptical talk that, the Conte rumours and the Poch rumours, funnily enough, coincided with the renewal of season tickets. Do you think that's a really cynical point of view, or do you think there's some fact in it, especially with our club's track record sometimes?
I just think it's such bad timing. I really do. And I just think 51 days, I know, without defending the club, I think that this is a very, very huge decision for Daniel Levy and the board. I know we could all joke and say, well, we don't want to rush into things, but taking 51 days to appoint a manager, I think it's far too long. And this is just dragging out now. We all thought that it would be before the Euros, and now it looks like it could be during or even after the Euros before appointing a manager. But it's just worrying the fact that we want a top-class manager at Spurs. You're a Spurs fan like me. We all want trophies. We all want success at our club. That is way, way overdue. But I just think all the timing is just really poor. Going back to the Pochettino point, if he wasn't at PSG and he hadn't been there for such a short period of time, then perhaps he could have come back. If the timing was different, that scenario could have been different. The Antonio Conte situation, I think, is frustrating because we all knew as Spurs fans that, and I think a lot of us got excited thinking, well, perhaps Daniel Levy and the board are changing their ways and they're actually going to plough a lot more money in than what we know about. Because that Antonio Conte is going to want to spend money and he's going to want to go big. He don't want to come in and just win a League Cup or just finish fourth. He wants to go big guns. He wants to be challenging for the Premier League. He wants to be challenging for all the big prizes. And that must have been music to Harry Kane's ears, challenging for big prizes, because that's where we want to be at. All Spurs fans want to be, challenging for big prizes and the players, etc. So it's a huge summer, and I just think that this decision is probably one of the biggest decisions I've known, in my life supporting Spurs, because this has to be right. And I think that this is probably why Daniel Levy has brought in the new director of football. Yet to be announced by the club, but we know it's happening. We know it's happened. So he's got a huge job on his hands now as well. And apparently he's now going to be drawing up this new manager shortlist that Daniel Levy and the board will look at. But something needs to happen very, very quickly now, and we need a decent manager in, because some of these names being bandied about, like Graham Potters and your Scott Parkers, etc., they're not exciting fans. But I get why that they would appoint one of them, because it would fit into their brand. It would fit into they're going to come in and they're not going to want to spend heaps amounts of money. Where all of us fans, we want success straight away. We want it all now, because our last trophy was in 2008. It's just simply too long.
talkSPORT2's very own Paul Coit mentioned the other day, in terms of backing up Daniel Levy a little bit, I suppose he was doing, in saying that all of the appointments that Daniel has made have gone on to do better than, say, the previous one. If you look in, obviously, Santini came in as an ex-French manager, and then it didn't work out with him. Joel came in, we moved forward. Then, obviously, sacked Joel, Ramos comes in, won something, but then we move forward again under Harry. Do you think we can trust in Daniel Levy's decision of who he takes next, even if it is someone that the fans might not necessarily want?
That is the huge question at the moment, and that's where I just think that perhaps this appointment has taken so long because they know deep down that they've got to get this right, because a lot of fans are very frustrated. Fans are now turning from frustrated into anger as well, and this decision has to be right. But go back to Pochettino being sacked in November 2019 when he delivered, a Champions League final. Delivered top four constantly during his time there. And then you sack him a couple of months later to bring in Jose Mourinho. And then, of course, sacking Jose Mourinho 6 days before a cup final. These are decisions that are very frustrating amongst the Spurs fans right now. So I think that trust is an issue with some of the fans as well. So, as I say, this appointment is absolutely huge and it's got to be right. And it's funny because when you think that they were actually in talks with Pochettino about bringing him back, Daniel Levy is clearly or was clearly going to stick his hand up and say, "Okay, I got it wrong. We sacked the guy that we should have kept." And a lot of fans feel like that. Not all, but most do. But I like the intent of going for someone like Antonio Conte, but if you're not going to see it through, and then when you see the fans' excitement, the level of excitement last week, thinking we're going to go and spend big, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing that, the club is showing real ambition, and then all of a sudden the whole thing just falls apart. I just think that I'm going to feel very sorry for the manager that comes in if they come in and then a lot of fans are going, "Oh, it's him," because it's about excitement and it's about getting the fans back on board. And I just think that is so important at the moment. So this decision is absolutely huge.
You mentioned about that excitement that was brewing at the prospect of possibly the nostalgia of bringing back Maurizio or, this serial winner in Conte coming to the club. Do you think that Spurs fans are absolutely entitled to this lack of trust and, the Enoch out vibe that's going on right now, especially when you mentioned about the way things fall through? You look at Tottenham, apparently Harry Redknapp asked for, it was someone like Hazard and Suarez and got Nelson and an elderly Saha. So do you think that Spurs fans are entitled to feel like they're fed up with Levy and these broken promises?
They are fed up, Majestic. They're absolutely fed up. And, when we go back to Pochettino, he brought Tottenham onto a different level. And then you bring Jose Mourinho and you think that you're getting a serial winner in and you're going to start winning trophies. But ultimately, it's all about the backing. The board need to give the manager the backing. So no matter who the manager comes in, they must be backed. And when a number of fans are seeing the same pattern all the time of these managers not being backed properly, it was a bizarre decision to sack Jose Mourinho 6 days before a cup final. Whether you were Jose in, Jose out, or were sitting on the fence, it was a bizarre decision to do that 6 days before a final. So it's all about the backing now. But it is just frustrating. I keep using that word frustrating because we all want so much more. When we look at the likes of Harry Kane at the club, we look at the likes of the training facilities, we look at the ground. We've got all of the elements to be a big club, and we in some respects we need to start acting like a big club when it comes to some of these things.
100%. Also, Maurizio Pochettino, you mentioned that he took the club forward. Very handsome man as well. How many times have people told you how much you look like Poch, Chris?
Just a few.
Just a few. I get the fat Højbjerg. It's not as charming as looking like Poch. Everyone's like, "Oh, man, you look like Højbjerg." I'm like, "Yeah, well, he's fat brother." Yeah.
It's all good fun.
Was you excited at the prospect of Poch possibly coming home?
Absolutely. I said on this channel a couple of weeks back that Daniel Levy and the board should do whatever they need to do, pay whatever money they need to pay to go and get him back, because I just feel that it's about direction at the moment, club direction. And I felt that Pochettino, during his whole spell at the club, we all felt excitement. We all knew exactly where the club were going. We felt the progression all of the time. I know some people will shout at the radio now and say, well, he was Spurs were 14th when he left. But for what he delivered under the circumstances as well, playing away at Wembley Stadium, not spending a penny in 518 days, still taking us to the Champions League final. When you look at all those points, he was absolutely fantastic, and he will go down as one of the best managers at Tottenham in recent history, regardless of whether he didn't win a trophy or not. But I just think that appointment would have been absolutely incredible, and the fans would have been very, very happy with that.
Spurs YouTuber Chris Cowlin there talking about the managerial merry-go-round that continues at Tottenham Hotspurs. As Chris was saying, 51 days now without a permanent manager at Tottenham Hotspur. You're listening to The Social on talkSPORT2. Next up, more racing from...